Welcome back to the Imaginary Gallery. It's TJ, your host. Tonight's question is, who is the narcopath? Or maybe it's better phrased, what is the narcopath? The narcopath is a creature. It's a male to female transgender lesbian whom I've captured and forced to give confessions to you, the people. I'm going to explain the reason why. First, we'll need to use your imagination. Imagine that you have stepped into a kind of haunted house of sorts, where you're on your own in this building with a bunch of people all over, and the goal is to find your way out. And you find various obstacles, levers and doors and various things you try, including a certain switch you press and it makes something else happen, but you don't really see what's going on. And after a few hours of this, you find yourself being lost, really wishing you had some kind of app on your phone or some kind of tour guide that you could say, "Hey sir, I've gone around this corner 10 times and I'm still stuck here. What am I doing wrong?" You'd need some kind of guidance. And let's say you spend additional hours within this environment. Then, somehow at the very end, you end up getting ejected out of a door. Then that's the last you ever see of this place. You're free. That description was designed to represent the relationship with a narcissistic creature, or one of those cluster B monsters. When you were in that relationship, you kept finding yourself in difficult, impossible situations, ones where you saw certain things occur, it didn't all make sense, and then you were ejected out of it. In both situations, even though you're free, chances are that you'd be still wondering what happened. It's going to stick in your mind. It's going to be a problem. You're going to think of yourself as a rational human being who wouldn't willingly enter into something that was dangerous, yet you recall those moments and hours in that situation and just wish there was some guide person there to at least help or give hints, but it didn't exist. That's the way it is with your relationship with the creature. Things happen, you don't get any real guidance. You may get some information, but it's usually faulty information, designed to steer you off course. And now you've been kicked out of this situation with this creature. If they did their job the way they normally do, you're probably left with all kinds of unanswered questions. You've gone over in your mind various scenarios where you thought you were making headway, but then the creature bailed anyway. And that's one thing you won't have in that relationship, is an actual guide who will steer you the right direction. If anything, you'll be thrust into a hall of mirrors, which is a very good way to describe the way it feels when you're dealing with one of these creatures. You think you see the doorway here, and it's really just a reflection of something else that's not there, and you're lost. The narcopath is here to fulfill the role of the tour guide. The real self is what the narcopath would represent. You don't ever get any of that from these creatures. You may catch a glimpse if the mask slips off, which typically will happen in some kind of argument towards the end or at the discard, but oftentimes they will not give you a full unmasking. Why is that, you may ask? Well, it's a business decision, because even though this creature has decided to spend its time with some new victim, it knows that things don't always work right with their new victims, and there may be a need to return to you for something at some time. In fact, I've been involved with some before, that when I first meet them, they talk about their exes, about how horrific the person was, and violent and abusive, but then a few months down the line,
"Oh yeah, I'm hanging out with my ex."
and I'm thinking, you just said that was an abusive, horrible person.
"Oh, it's okay. Yeah, she's okay."
The story changes. Or they might even move in with them as a temporary roommate situation, or something you would just think is unheard of based on the way they described this person as being a horrible creature. But that's one of their tricks in their bag. They love to paint their exes as the bad people, and typically end up describing things they themselves have done to the ex, but they switch characters and say the ex did it to them. But chances are, when you were ejected from this situation with your discard, you were left feeling like you're still hanging, like there were still things you wanted to understand, because that's a normal thing. For a person who's in a situation like in that haunted house, you want to find your way out. You see pieces of information that lead you to different directions, but you just want somebody there to say, if you go out that way there, push that button, the door will open and you can leave. But you don't get that with these creatures. It's almost as if they know that's your goal, to find clarity and closure, which is one of the things I've discussed in other videos that they just do not give. they're not going to let you off easy. Even though they destroyed your life, they see it as you destroyed theirs. Because they're twisted. Typically, these creatures know that you're a nice and a good person. They knew that if you did eventually confront them, a lie they may have told that was a really big one, they seem to know that that gives you a discomfort feeling to accuse another person who's supposed to be your friend as lying. When it gets to the point where it's ridiculous, that's when you'll start asking, and they'll still act with their straight face like, I can't believe you think I'm lying to you. And it's like, but you have. You've lied a lot, and they have, but they play that game to pretend to be innocent, and they'll often project onto you what they're doing. One I knew used to say that I thought that I always had to be right. I said, that's not true, and I was quickly able to yank the situation into reality and say, remember that one time that I had done this one thing? Well, that wasn't right. I don't think I always have to be right. When I am right, I state a fact that you're denying is true, then I will go over A, B, C, D through Z, explain exactly how it is true. But see, these creatures seem to know this, and they seem to get off. They get supply. It makes them feel like they mean something. You are actually going through all the trouble to try to explain this to them with such passion. They just sit there and act like you're still wrong. Oh no, that's wrong, that's wrong. Even though you've proven your case, that's one of the things that makes them toxic. There's no resolution in the end because you can't ever get where you want to be, and they're doing everything they can to make sure you don't get to where you want to be, to leave you with questions and wondering, because that'll help in the future if, for some reason, they need to dial you back up. Maybe out of the blue for a Hoover.
I was just thinking about you.
That's a trick to make you think that you were right about certain things and that now's your chance to prove it. The person's seen the light. Maybe you can make it work, or you miss this person so much even though it was evil, which is a strange mystery as to why that happens. But all it is, if you do get involved in this Hoover, is simply another opportunity for them to get you again. To themselves, they're probably saying something like, this person's stupid. After what I did to him or her, he wants to see me again? Okay, I'm going to get it even more this time. And they do. And then they'll just vanish again as if nothing happened. They like to keep as many options open as possible. Of course, they won't be telling each person. It'll all be compartmentalized. You will be the evil X, but it still may speak with you and may even sneak off with you if it can. And typically, it's still involved in its new situation. You'll be misled into thinking that maybe it's not with that person. But then, sure enough, pretty soon afterwards, they're together again with that new person, and it'll just leave you even more devastated thinking, what happened? The person came back and now it's back there. What's happening here? Well, they don't have real feelings. They didn't really connect with you. You may have connected to them or you thought you did, but anything you connected to was fake. It was a mirror of you. You'll probably notice in your Hoover that they've got a few different things here or there, maybe a different article of clothing they're wearing they didn't used to wear, or a different phrase they're using they never used with you, because that's rubbing off from the new target or targets, and they can't always keep track of it all. The narcopath, again, is here to confess things from its viewpoint, using words that it typically would never use with you. But back to the original question, who is the narcopath? When I began making these videos, I remember sharing information and talking about the different things these creatures will do. The back of my mind kept getting this idea, like, these people need to see exactly what these creatures are like, because I'd seen so many of them and been through so many experiences with them, I got to a point where I could pretty much talk it all out from their viewpoint. Of course, in a way they would never do, usually. Still, just laying it all out for the viewer, because the viewer was dealing with this mystery creature who was maintaining a fictitious image, which we more than likely bought, and then started displaying behaviors that just did not fit in with the character that they present. The narcopath, which went through many incarnations, it started off one way and turned ghoulish glamorous and retarded in all different ways. But I figured it would be beneficial to hear it all from the other side, from the creature's view, in the setting where it's been trapped and forced to confess. Because normally it won't. If you were to grab it right now, one that you haven't seen for years that played games with you and said, you were lying, you were fake, you did this and you did that, they'd say,
Oh, you're crazy, I didn't do any of that.
They'll just deny it all. or they'll just say, oh, well, you had done whatever you had done. But I think it may help to see things from its viewpoint and the way it would think, which is carefully pieced together, mostly from real situations. Some are not completely like my situation, but situations I've heard others discuss. And it also provides, hopefully, an opportunity for you to laugh at how sickening these creatures really are. Because we think they're the most important thing in the world until we know what they are. And sometimes even after that, it's sometimes good to just take a look at them and realize how ridiculous they are and how their lives are formed around fakery nonstop. They're never going to be able to relax and just be themselves and be openly honest about how they really feel about everything. They're constantly in character, and that must get exhausting. But that's what they've traded their what could be life for. They never developed into a real person with full spectrum of emotions, so they simply are acting like a spoiled little kid who's 7 years old, and wants whatever it wants at any cost. The ends will justify the means, no matter what it is. If they have to lie, cheat, steal, or kill, if they get the prize, well, that's all that matters. They don't have any sense of a morality. Like if, for example, if there was a child that envied another child's medal, the other child won in some contest, if this psychopathic child were to steal that medal and take it home for itself and then tell people, oh, I won this medal, a regular person might say something like, doesn't it bother you that you've been showing people that medal that you stole from that other girl that won and you didn't win anything? Their answer would be something like, no, they believed it. It worked. It served its purpose. Because they don't care about the facts or the reality. The creature just wanted to use that stolen object as a tool to show others and try to impress them. And if it impressed the other people, well, it served its purpose. They don't care that it's not real or that they stole it. Sick. Like back to that one that had said I thought I always had to be right. This was the same one that on another occasion demonstrated that it was projecting when it said that, because it actually flat out said the words.
One thing you need to understand is, I am always right.
And it said that seriously, and I was listening to it thinking, okay, is this person playing a skit or a role? And I'd say, you think you're always right, really? I'd try to give lessons, which of course don't do any good, but I felt for the moment like I was doing a service, because I'd say, like, it's good sometimes to be wrong, because you learn from that. Like if you really think something, oh, I know this is true, and then it turns out it isn't, it's not so bad. It's a learning experience to realize that, oh, I misjudged this. Next time I'll think about that. But these creatures don't do that, because they're little children that never developed beyond the age of about 7. They're in these adult bodies, making a mess of the world around them and themselves. Be glad if you were ejected out of that haunted house, because you're much better off now without it.
It's me, the Narcopath.
I'm Ginger. I'm Gilligan's Island.
You wanna see me strip? I'm gonna strip my clothing off for you, spread eagle. Oh honey, it's me, the Narcopath, the one you've been waiting for all your entire life. This message is for you. You know who you are.
I know when we first dated, I was really gung-ho about everything working with us getting married and everything. On the first date,
You were impressed because I wore a low-cut outfit and it allowed you to see my attributes.
I know you kind of wonder what happened to me because I kind of disappeared after just a few weeks. You were a nosy one. Yes, you could see through my lies, and you pointed them out.
I didn't like that. I turned it around on you and said,
How could you treat me so terribly and call me a liar? What a terrible thing to say.
and then you pointed out exactly how I had lied. I didn't know what else to say to that. I just...
Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's wrong. I'm leaving.
I left. We had a few conversations like that. Obviously, I didn't know how to face the fact that I had done things wrong. I've been sitting here telling you how honest I am and how I would never cheat or see anyone else behind your back. And then you found out I was with that pizza guy. I
Told you it just kind of happened. And I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't any fun, and he made me do it. He raped me.
Even though you saw us on Facebook kissing, I was smiling and my top was half off. But I just told you photoshopped that. You didn't buy that either. So I had to get lost. I'm not going to stick around. I'm going to blame you, and I'm going to get the hell out of there. If you start being a snoopy, nosy person, people need to just let me do what I want to do. They don't need to go checking up on me. They don't even see if I'm with someone else. It's none of their business. Now it's my business if they're with someone else when they're dating me, but they are not to even look at anyone else when they're with me. Understand? Those are my rules. That's what I require.
So no wonder I disappeared on you. You were just too smart for your own damn good. I hope it got you what you wanted. Now I have to have an abortion.
You don't know what fuckery means.
Hi, yes, this is the Narcopath. I called before about having a large billboard set up in Times Square for a certain product I'm selling. What is the product? Well, it's a squirt in Virginia, molded after me. I'm a very sexy star. Oh, come, give me a break. People are into this. They want to see it. What are you talking about? Who are you? Come now, come. I am. The people of New York City would love to see more than anything a larger-than-life version of my very own Virginia, which is very high in demand. And it'll spawn sales. People will rush into the sex shops and they'll be buying it up like crazy. That's exactly what I need in these times. What's wrong with you? Don't you care about anyone else but yourself? You have problems. Give me your manager. Give me your manager now. Hello? Hello?
These people just don't understand. They're not ready for me yet. I'm ahead of my time. You'll see. One day, my Squirtin' Virginia replica will be in every single married man and single man's dresser drawers. Just wait, I guarantee it.